Happy rails to you. It's good to see you again. Happy rails to you. Welcome back, my friends. Happy rails to you. It's good to see you again. Hello, everyone. It's G-Man, and welcome back, My World 67. Well, I thought we would do Backup Friday. We're going to back all the way up to this Milwaukee Road engine that I made from a 1700 Lionel streamline engine. It was a 1700 Lionel Junior. And I made it back, I believe, back in November. It has a Marx motor. And I believe it's a Flyer rear truck. I put a lens in it, as you can see. It's got a full front window. And you can see the G on the front. And I added window inserts. Now, when I got a set of cars for it, I was intending on doing that for the cars too, and I might still do that. One car I know I can do. The other car, I'm not so sure if I want to tackle that job or not. But I finally found both cars for it. Now, this was a junk shell, body shell. This piece actually came off of another piece. It's just a part that I had laying around. The one that was on here was actually broken. And so this is a parts engine, and take it, put it back together, and have made a nice custom engine out of it for the Milwaukee Road. Okay, now, it was my intention before now to had put this engine together. But the only piece that I had for this engine was this car. Since then, I have found my other cars, and I decided they were in too nice a condition to try and, just to repaint them. I can touch them up and keep them like they are, and sometime or another put me together another Lionel Junior set for my own operation. I had one and that I had refurbished partially, and my good friend Jim over at My Train Room, he took it off my hands, and so, but I've had 3 or 4 of these over the years, parts and pieces, and so I decided when I ran across this body to go ahead and just make me a Milwaukee Road set. And so, with the coronavirus and all the other things that's been going on, I haven't really been able to fix a lot or repair anything. Couldn't paint. Still having some breathing problems, but I'm going to get this painted. As you can see, I've got it masked up and ready to start painting. So, I was going to do it in this video, but I'm not going to be able to. So this is going to be a 2-part series. Running in on the end of the second video with layout progress. So for now, let me show you what I've been doing. Okay, now I took this all apart, and first I took the trucks off, and then someone had cut the end of this out and put on a modern Lionel truck with a knuckle cover. So they cut out this rear, and so I had to go back in and repair that. And so what I did was I cut a piece of aluminum. This is actually some aluminum siding, or actually this is steel siding. Sorry, this is a piece of that white steel siding that I use. I've still got a couple of big pieces of it paneled, so that'll last quite a while. I was going to try to cold tack this in place, but I don't have a soldering iron that gets hot enough to actually do that, or a small miniature bentonite torch. So I decided to go ahead and use some cement, household cement, and sometimes I use this Spixol. It's not as strong or as good as Gorilla Glue, but it's just as messy. Okay, and it does stick, and it makes a fairly permanent bond, unless you get it in certain chemicals that will eat at the cement itself. But it does work. And so as you can see, I put this together. I put clamps on it to clamp it together. And it's been setting now. I actually did this a couple of weeks ago. I had a minute, wasn't doing anything else, so I said, well, let me see if I can straighten this out and add this piece. So I did. I added this piece back on. I may do a little more detail work to it later. The other thing is, this car did not have a vestibule in between the cars. And so Lionel used, get this other car out here. Lionel used these, and they're just that little tin, the thin tin, and probably 18 gauge, probably. It's real thin. Same thing the bodies are made out of. And I was trying to figure out, I didn't have one, couldn't find one. And if I found one, they'd probably want $5 to $10 for it. And so I was trying to figure out what to use. Now, we'll come back to this car in a minute. So I got to thinking, and finally, last night, before I went to bed, I thought about using the metal tubing. And that's what this is. As you can see, this is a piece of that metal tubing. And it works out great, guys. I cut a hole, drilled a hole, and cut a slot in it at the top. Hole, larger hole, a slot in at the bottom, and the same over here. Only thing I didn't slot these because I wanted it to be a permanent mount into this this truck, into this shell. I'm sorry. And so that's just what I did. I drilled the holes, made the slots so that it'd hook up to the other car. And as this is the observation car, and they are almost the same identical size. Now, the original that Lionel did, as I said, is thinner, and it's also a little bit taller, just less than 1/16 of an inch taller. And so, but the width outside to outside is the same. It's just your height is a little bit different. You can see that. This doesn't have the wheels on it, but I think you can see that. Get them down there. It's just a little bit taller. So what I did was, after I cut the slots, I pulled the pin. I had to grind this down a little bit, pull it out, take the spring out. There's a spring down here. I don't know if you can see it or not. And there's a cap, and that pops up through the inside of this vestibule. And so I took the pin out, slipped it back down through, and I tried to figure out, because of that little slack, that difference in between, what to use. So I thought I could use washers at first, and I said, yeah, that'd be good. And then I decided, no, I don't want to just use washers. So I had drilled this hole out a little larger, because it was the same size as this front hole. And then I took one of these blue wall anchors, cut the end of it off, and pushed it down through the two washers and down through the vestibule itself. I don't know whether you can see that down on the inside of that or not. Right there. See my finger? And that makes that more stationary. It's just the right size for the pin to go through. So, and it locks perfectly when you get your hole drilled in the bottom, down here in the bottom of your vestibule, and you set it in place, it locks it perfectly in place. And so there's no up and down. All you have is your left to right motion. And even if this pin gets pushed, there's no danger of it coming out. So I think that worked out great. It's a little heavier, but once it's all painted, it'll look good. Now, let me show you. I have to prop this up some because we don't have any wheels on it. So we got to prop it up to the proper height, which is pretty close to that. That's a little high. There we go. And then this just goes in, locks in place. Won't come loose. Unless you push the pin. Perfect. So, what am I going to do next? As I said earlier, I've already got this taped off. I'm going to paint this top, the almond, and I'm going to paint the frame, the Milwaukee Road yellowish orange or orangish yellow. And then we're going to come back after this top dries, paint the shell itself that same color, put it back together. I will probably put the window illustrations in this car. I'm not sure whether I'm going to put them in this other car or not. Now let me show you this other car. This car was actually, except for the fading red paint here and on the frame, this car I really hate to paint over, but I don't have another shell that's in worse condition than this one. My other two cars that are packed away, and I ran across them like last week, going through some boxes, are this nice and clean. One of them is even better than this, but both of them are almost like new. This one was very close to that, as you can just see from this part of it. The only thing I've done to it is I took a piece of wet and dry sandpaper, went over it a little bit, and then took some alcohol and cleaned it to prep it for the paint. But the car itself is straight, and but in order to get what we needed, got to paint this. Now, I didn't find my other two passenger cars. This was a purchase, this year's purchase. And so I found this on eBay, and the guy was nice enough to let me have it, I think, for $17 plus shipping, which still ended up costing me something like 27 bucks. Whereas I had this one already in my junk box. So, but it was worth it. The car was really in nice shape, and $17 was a really good bargain. So I thought, well, okay, for 17 bucks or 27 bucks, however you want to look at it, it'd be worth it to finish my train up, to go ahead and get it and paint the car, because all of a sudden everybody's going crazy on the price of these. So I went ahead and got it. But I'm going to paint this same way, almond top, and the body's going to be yellow, and we're going to put the red stripings on it, I believe. Now, one thing I want to point out, if you're going to paint over this chrome, one of the mistakes a lot of guys make, they just clean it and shoot it. Get you some steel wool, get you some wet and dry sandpaper, something to that effect. Go over this. You don't have to sand it down till you sand through it, but you need to sand it down and get some of that shiny off of it, and put some scratching, some etching, light etching into the chrome itself, so that the paint will stick to it. Alcohol is a good base rub for prep. There's other things you can use, but usually when you run into cleaners, you start using cleaners unless you have a paint thinner that's equitable with the paint that you're about to shoot, you run into problems. So alcohol seems to work and not give you much trouble at all as it evaporates after a certain period of time. All right, so I have not torn this coach apart yet because I was indecisive whether I wanted to go all the way with it like I did the other one. And it was, like I said, in such a good condition. I thought, well, if I put the windows in it, I can put them in, try to put them in with everything still in place. So I can kind of manipulate that. So we'll see. But as for now, this is what I'm doing. Painting the top of this one. I've made my repairs on this one, and it is now ready to paint and be reassembled. And when we get done, we'll have a nice Milwaukee, what I call a speedster, a streamlined train. Well, guys, that's all I have for you for tonight. If you have any questions or any comments, please feel free to leave a comment in the comment box below, or you can shoot me an email at gman1924@hotmail.com. I promise, as long as I have breath in my body, I will answer. All right? As I always say, if you have as much fun working on your trains, working on your layout, painting, customizing, whatever you do to your trains and your layout, if you have as much fun operating as I do, then you should have happy rails. That's all for now. Bye-bye.